But I
Yep.
don't want to be miniaturized. This is Why Wasn't It Better? And I am your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
On this episode of Why Wasn't It Better, we're diving into one of the strangest and most imaginative science fiction films of the 1960s, Fantastic Voyage. Released in 1966, this arrived at the height of the Cold War science fiction craze and just a few years before humanity would land on the moon. The premise is pure high-concept brilliance. Scientists develop technology that can shrink a submarine and its crew to microscopic size, inject them into a dying man's bloodstream, and give them 1 hour to travel through his body and destroy a blood clot in his brain before the miniaturization wears off. It's equal parts medical thriller, sci-fi spectacle, and surreal adventure through the human body. It was a technical marvel for its time, winning 2 Academy Awards for its groundbreaking visual effects and art direction. And if you grew up in a certain era, there's a good chance you watched it in science class at least once. Its imagery, white blood cells attacking the ship, the glowing caverns of the lungs, the dangerous currents of the bloodstream, left a lasting imprint on generations of moviegoers and inspired countless later stories about microscopic journeys inside the human body. But while Fantastic Voyage is endlessly creative and visually memorable, the question remains, does the movie surrounding that incredible idea actually live up to it? And here to discuss shrinkage with us is a veteran guest, Paul Kind. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you very much, guys. And what a pleasure it is to review this particular movie.
It really was a pleasure, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great family film. And for me, obviously, brings back a lot of memories as a young child watching this on TV with my family and just being blown over with, you know, as you say, the visual spectacle of it. I probably didn't necessarily understand the nuances of the political angles, but just as a visual feast, it was fantastic.
When was the last time you'd seen this?
Oh, good grief. Must be 40 plus years ago.
Oh, really? Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So you didn't remember a ton about it then.
It's one of those, there's certain bits in that film that remain in your brain and your memory for forever. There's a particular scene is with dealing with Donald Pleasance, which probably scared the Jesus out of me for many years.
I know what you're talking about. It definitely scared me as a kid.
And to be honest, for a while, every time, bless him as an actor, he was on TV, it used to give me the creeps. It brought back all those memories.
Good old Dr. Loomis. Or Blofeld, depending on
he was in
what you fancy.
The Great Escape. He was
in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really can play unsettling very well.
Oh, yeah. Also,
he is one of the only actors in this film who registers emotion. Everyone else is a little dry, which we'll talk about. But that was, kind of what they were going for.
I actually prefer to call it stoic.
There you go. Yeah, well, more on that later. Well, this film was released on the 16th of August, 1966 by 20th Century Fox. 60th anniversary, guys.
Let's go.
Let's go. Directed by Richard Fleischer. Anton, you might know that name. Paul, you might too.
Mm-hmm.
Did a lot of stuff. Kind of an underrated guy, actually, at this point. Richard Fleischer. We'll talk about him. The screenplay was written by Harry Kleiner, based on a story by Jerome Bixby and Otto Clement. There's also an adaptation credit for David Duncan. The film stars Stephen Boyd, Raquel Welch, Edmund O'Brien, Donald Pleasance, and Arthur Kennedy. The budget was $6 million. That is $60 million adjusted for inflation, a nice clean 10x. And the box office was $12 million. That is $120 million adjusted for inflation. It has a 91% Rotten Tomato score. Paul, I gave you a list of, a half dozen films to pick from. Why did you choose Fantastic Voyage?
Well, I think as mentioned earlier, it's such a long time since I'd seen this film and have an opportunity to sort of review it based on what I remember about it and just seeing if it sort of still held up. I'm sure I had an inkling that some of the special effects might not necessarily stand up in today's, general effects, but as a story and, as a good film that I remember it, does it still have that for me? And obviously, emotionally, it's a bit of therapy, a bit like Alien 3. I had to revisit those particular moments that really scared me And yeah, it's great to get through that without running out the room screaming.
Anton, like myself, is it safe to assume that you also saw this in grade school in science class?
Like myself, yes.
Okay, good.
So, sorry, just to interrupt. So was that kind of standard viewing for schools? Was basically if you wanted to teach basic biology, you'd put on that film, or was it just?
I think it's so. I'll share the perspective from what I remember growing up. In that, usually science teachers would bring in the TV either typically on rainy days because you're not capturing students' attention otherwise. It's for some reason rain always interferes with students' abilities to pay attention.
They'd roll the TV in on wheels.
Yeah. And that was that was what would be the focus, is having some sort of science related video on. So very popularly there was a lot of Discovery videos. There was Fantastic Voyage, of course, and then Bill Nye videos were also very popular growing up.
I think Paul is asking why this specific film, though, because you can't really call this educational.
This is, well, what I remember.
You could, but
I was going to say what I remember from at least from middle school, because I saw this, I think it was the 6th grade. We were learning about human anatomy, but at a 6th grade level. And even if that, I even remember my teacher saying this is not an accurate film of anatomy. But it's so memorable that it does make learning much more effective if you think of it as a learning tool. I don't think that it stuck with me in the 6th grade in that same sense, other than just my fascination with being able to shrink to that level. But hey, it was a rainy day, something to watch.
Yeah, Paul, I suspect they just didn't have lesson plans for those days. But for whatever reason, this is just a film that a lot of, I think, Americans of our generation experienced in school. Because, yeah, it is appropriate for kids. It is, one of, I guess, the few mainstream movies that does anything like this. I guess it's semi-educational, you could say.
Did you have anything else in school around that age that you remember, Pat?
Nothing that stuck out like this.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Gattaca in the 8th grade. That was one of the most badass things that I think could have happened.
We watched Gattaca in high school.
Yeah, I remember we watched Gattaca in 8th grade chemistry. And that was pretty sweet.
I remember we watched one of Pat's favorites, The Hindenburg.
That's incredible that they would show that in school.
What?
You mean Anton's favorites? I was a little bit more favorable on that. Anton hated that movie.
Hated it.
It was one of those rainy days, and it was like, well, how can we entertain the kids? Let's just put this film on. How they got it, I do not know. And it was a film as well. It was projected.
Wow.
So it must have been a cut down version.
One of the highlights in, I think it was 10th or 11th grade English, our teacher showed us Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
No idea where the connection was from. We might have been doing because that's not even really connected to Shakespeare at all. I don't get it.
We saw it in the 8th grade. I think my 8th grade, I was very blessed with a lot of films, and the reason we saw
lazy teachers.
Well, in history class, at least, I remember it was because it was tied to a lot of the visual cues of the Crusade, because we were learning about the Crusades at the time, and they use a lot of that stylistically in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Sure,
but it's got a lot of adult content in there.
Yeah, sure.
Chopping of arms and spank me.
We didn't see the whole film, I'll say that.
Right. Just quickly fast forward through this bit.
I think when we were kids, Fantastic Voyage was seen as more of a classic. I think it's faded a bit now because it's not really well known by I don't think really the younger generations.
The younger generation doesn't realize how impactful Fantastic Voyage is into anything that they've watched.
Right. I asked my niece recently if she had heard of this film because she was on the phone with one of her friends, and of course they had never. They're like 18, and they had never heard of it. But I asked them, "Are you aware of this concept?" And I explained the plot to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like from the Magic School Bus." And they named a couple other cartoons. I'm like, "Yeah, you know this movie."
And of course, you had I Shrunk the Kids,
and Inner Space,
Yeah.
And then obviously the Ant-Man stuff as well, the Marvel Ant-Man.
Right. Which came out, Anton, right around the same time as this, right? The mid-'60s.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, my dad saw this in the theater. He said he was blown away by it. This was crackerjack stuff for 1966. You know what this reminded me of, Anton? Airport.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
It,
The tone very similar.
the tone, but also the influence, where I don't know if a lot of folks really have heard of Airport at this point. But of course, Airport basically invented the disaster genre, and then this influenced so many science fiction stories.
Yeah, and it's fun to be able to cover this, and we'll touch on it more. But yeah, just thinking about all its influence over the years, and yeah, this is some really influential science fiction.
So many cartoons have used this plot. I mean, here's what I just thought of offhand: The Simpsons, Futurama, Archer, Family Guy, The Magic School Bus, Rick and Morty, SpongeBob. There's probably a lot of others that I can't even think of. There's a bunch of anime stuff that's done.
Yeah, I
some
mean,
stuff with this miniaturization idea as well.
You name a show, you name a popular franchise, there's been a Fantastic Voyage style episode. Venture Brothers, Doctor Who.
There you go.
There was a new Batman animated series in the past decade that had a Fantastic Voyage style episode. So it endures.
The other big reason, and then I'll turn things over to Paul because he was about to say something. This was Raquel Welch's breakout role. It made her a household name overnight. Paul, you were going to say something? Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to make a comment that you guys seem to watch an awful lot of cartoons.
Yeah, that's true.
Just an observation.
Not anymore, but I did certainly growing up.
I do. That's a very true observation, Paul.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Magic School Bus, that might not even be a thing in the UK.
Cannot say I've ever heard of it.
It was a kid show. It was a kind of an educational animated kid show that they would show in schools to like younger kids. It was on, I think, PBS. What right, Anton? Was it PBS?
Yeah, PBS. It was a very whimsical series. It was teaching kids to have fun and learn by
the
riding
whole plot of it is like a teacher has a magic school bus and she takes her kids around to like educate them on various things. It's a pretty cool show.
And the school bus has just the ability to turn any size or any shape, I guess.
Yes, it's magic, right?
So it can take them, it can turn the students microscopic and then go into someone's body, like in the Fantastic Voyage.
Now, I did not know this. Fantastic Voyage was popular enough. It spawned an animated TV series.
That's
I
true.
have never seen this. It aired in 1968. It only lasted a single season of 17 episodes, but that's pretty cool. I watched a little bit of it on YouTube. I didn't watch enough of it to really get a feel for it.
What was the premise of it though? What did they just continue to sort of heal people?
Yeah,
on a daily
it
basis?
seemed to be like that. It was like a serialized, like a team would just go in the submarine and fix stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Interesting.
I guess. Is it interesting? I don't know. It only lasted a season.
If you're villain of the, I was gonna say, like, I wonder how many times it's like, well, what's the villain of the week? It's gout. We have to go fix the gout.
Well, they hint at like emphysema and or lung cancer in this film. When there's like, oh, there's smoke in his lungs.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
they do.
Mind you, I could have done with one when I had kidney stones. That would have been handy.
Oof.
Just to blast that thing.
Yeah, episode
Yikes.
12. The first men on the kidney stones.
Yeah, that would be tricky to do that as a film in 1966. Like, where are they? Where are they right now? In the penis.
They go through all of that fun in the Rick and Morty episode.
Anton, this one's for you, this bit of trivia. There's a comic book adaptation of this that was released by Gold Key Comics a year after this film came out. Good luck finding that.
Doesn't shock me. I'm sure it's really, really cool.
Bet it is. Let us know. And there's also a video game that was released for the Atari in 1982. So this really did have legs for a while.
I'm sure that video game was terrible, but
couldn't have been good.
So, do you guys remember, or was it ever shown to you, a TV series, an Irwin Allen series called Land of the Giants?
I know of it.
Vaguely.
Yeah, so that came out, I think, about 2-3 years after this film. So I wonder if, again, it was, these people coming onto a planet and realizing they're smaller than these giants. I can't remember really too much about it, but I remember being amazed by the fact they had really big people and really tiny people.
Those Irwin Allen shows are cool for one reason. That is how John Williams got started composing.
Yeah.
That's how he made his bones, scoring those really low budget, cheap TV series. Remember, we talked about this way back when you were on for the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
That was one of his big breakthroughs. for film. Is he did the scores to those Irwin Allen disaster movies before Jaws, and before he became like John Williams. Production history in a second, Anton, but we have a pretty big thing to go over here. So it's time to talk about the 6 degrees of Warren Beatty's sex life, which is my prevailing theory that all films can be connected by the sexual conquests of Warren Beatty. We have a direct conquest in this film, Raquel Welch.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Donald Pleasance, but okay.
No. And if Warren Beatty were here, he would resent that.
It's like, no way.
He would probably tell you how proud he was of the fact that he bedded Raquel Welch.
Good man.
But we usually don't have direct connections like this, Anton, although I'm sure we will when we, the more films from the 60s and 70s that we cover.
To record, I think we only have about 1 or 2 episodes we haven't been able to make the connection.
Right, and they're like, it was like a Pokemon animated movie.
Yeah. So far, the theory persists.
I stand by it. Warren Beatty.
It sounds like a new podcast in the making.
Could be. I'm telling you, Paul, you got to read his autobiography.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. All right.
I just think it's hilarious. Just one last thing. Warren Beatty, of course, has that very famous song, You're So Vain. Even in 2026, if he hears about a podcast talking about someone's sex life, I'm sure in his mind, they must be talking about mine.
I hope Warren Beatty hears one of our episodes and just smiles. And he's just like, yeah, I remember that.
How old is he now?
He is almost 90.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he's old.
Wow.
He was born in 1937, 38, something like that. He was acting in the 50s.
He still does Dick Tracy specials.
He doesn't do shit.
Well, he does the Dick Tracy specials.
I mean, he'll trot that out every 10 years to hold on to the rights. I don't think he's doing another one, Anton.
Yeah, to be fair.
I'm not sure if we're getting another one of those. Okay, production history for this film. The story idea came from Otto Clement and Jerome Bixby. They sold it to 20th Century Fox. Bixby was a writer on The Twilight Zone, and he also wrote a handful of episodes for Star Trek, the original series. They originally set the story in the early 1900s, and it was to be, they envisioned it as like a Jules Verne type of tale, but Fox insisted on it being set in modern times. Studio stalwart Richard Fleischer was hired to direct, and Saul David produced. You know who Max Fleischer is? Sorry, this is another cartoon thing for you, Paul. I'm sorry to do this to you. Max Fleischer. Right. Anton, tell us who Max Fleischer was.
Am I still on? One sec.
Are you Googling it?
I had the D23 up because I just thought it was so well put. So in terms of Disney or even just animation, how do we put it, royalty, you can't have the impact on animation other than the royalty that is the name Fleischer for the impact on rotoscope.
Wasn't he Disney's biggest competition?
Yes, but his impact on animation completely, of course, adapted into the Disney style of animation, included into the rotoscope style, and has him cemented in the D23 Hall of Fame.
Wow, they honored him even though he was a competitor. And Paul, he also animated the original Superman.
Oh, okay.
So Richard Fleischer, who directed this film, is his son.
Ah.
And Richard Fleischer also in the D23 Hall of Fame for work on
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
which major hit for Disney.
Yeah, huge film for Disney. Anton, we've covered a film of his already. Did you know?
Tora.
Yes, he directed the American scenes in Tora. Yeah, he's done a lot of other high-profile stuff. He's a studio director, but like one of the greats.
Have you guys seen Boston Strangler?
Did he do that?
Think
no,
so.
I don't think I have. I saw the new one on Netflix, but not the original.
It was just such, I suppose, in a way, the stylistic nature of it was so different. He had all these cutaways and everything. And I didn't realize he directed it. He's done some kind of crazy stuff.
Very prolific director.
Yeah, going from like family stuff to sort of quite dark films.
But that's the thing. He was a studio director. I don't think they weren't really his projects. He just kind of got hired by the studio because they trusted him to do anything.
Just very innovative director.
Really was. I don't know if he gets the credit he deserves for this film that we're going to talk about, but he should. This was the return of Stephen Boyd to Hollywood in 5 years. He, of course, plays our lead. Raquel Welch was cast after being spotted at a beauty pageant by producer Saul David's wife. At one point in the pre-production, it was positioned as like a Derek Flint spy spoof starring James Coburn. This is really cool. Fleischer asked the studio to hire artist Harper Goff. He had worked with him before on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Goff had designed the Nautilus. He would design the Proteus in this film. And put a pin in that because we're going to talk about him later. Paul, I texted you about this guy a few weeks back, and Anton knows him. Really cool guy. We'll talk about him later. Half of the $6 million budget was spent on sets. Not really surprising. The Proteus submarine was constructed as a full-size set piece that was 42 feet long. This is really cool. The full-size mock-up that you see, the exterior of it, it contained all of the interior sets that the actors are seen in to represent the interior of the submarine. And the way they filmed it is they would just basically pull sections of it apart so that they could film the interiors and then put it all back together when they wanted to film the exteriors. It's pretty innovative. I don't know. It's like that's pretty unusual for a film, like a vehicle like this.
Yeah, and I think it just, you see it on screen, the amount of, the level of detail for the set design. If you guys had to guess, how much do you think it is the model of the Proteus, how much is that worth today if you got your hands on it?
If they hadn't destroyed it?
Mm-hmm. Or if the Crow hadn't taken it?
Right. If it went to auction, millions.
Yeah.
It would be millions. I mean, someone would bid for that and put it in their backyard.
Because at the time, it was $250,000.
Wow.
At the time.
Right. So that's 2.5 today if we use the 10x inflation. Yeah, that's really cool designs. It's just a cool looking, they got it right. That's why they hired Harper Goff. The submarine was also constructed as a 5-foot miniature that could be flown on wires in the abstract sets representing the insides of the human body. I was listening to, there's a really good commentary on the Blu-ray. When you see it moving through the heart, it's obvious, it's that 5-foot miniature, but the miniature set, I'm using miniature in air quotes, that they're moving that 5-foot miniature through was like 100 feet long. It's like just wild the amount of work they put into this. Principal photography lasted from January to June of 1965, almost entirely on sound stages, although the headquarters of the CMDF, the Combined Miniature Deterrent Force, it was filmed at the Los Angeles Sports Arena's concourse. You know, when they're going through on go-karts or golf carts in the beginning, they're kind of going up these ramps. Yeah, Anton, you can kind of tell, too, it's the interior of a basketball arena. Pretty cool.
Do you think in those scenes, like, nobody actually ever walked anywhere?
It looked like a huge facility. I don't think walking would have been fun.
Yeah.
Would have taken you a while.
I don't think so.
Post-production took a year due to the elaborate special effects. Again, that stood out to me. That's like what you'd expect for a film today, you know, like a big-scale film today. Isaac Asimov was asked to write the novelization of the script, and he declared the script was full of plot holes, and he received permission to write the book the way he wanted. The novel came out first, or the novelization came out first, because he wrote it so quickly and because of delays in filming. Because of this delay, a lot of people assumed it was based on an Asimov novel. And when this aired on ABC in 1969, it was the highest rated movie ever broadcast on television at the time. Think about how much the world has changed. So basically, if you didn't catch this in theaters in 66, unless they had a re-release the next year, you just didn't see it. It's like you had to wait 3 years until it aired on ABC. It's just nuts.
And of course, you also got to remember that once it's shown, if you didn't catch it, it's likely not to be shown again for months,
right,
or even years. You know, there's no way to record it.
No. I mean, I guess you've made this point before on previous episodes, Paul. Like, they did do re-releases much more frequently back then, and films were in theaters longer back then. So you had, if you didn't catch it, like if you don't catch a film now in the first few weeks, you basically can't see it. Like Anton with F1.
Yes.
Yes. Anton, I just read the entire production history. I'm sorry. Why don't you read the promo?
Gladly. As always, we thank you for listening. If you're liking the podcast and haven't already done so, please hit that follow or subscribe button. We encourage you to leave comments wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow us on the major social media platforms, Instagram, X, and best of all, Letterboxd, where you can see our full list of films that we intend to cover. And if you really like what you're doing, or really like what we're doing, and want to throw a few dollars our way, we do have a Patreon. There you can support the show, get access to episodes a full week early and ad-free, plus access to bonus content. Links are in the description, and we are ready to rumble with Why Wasn't It Better?
I'd like to start with our cast. Paul, you used the word stoic earlier. I would say everyone is playing it extremely straight.
Yeah.
You could call the performances wooden if you wanted to be harsh.
Do you think, would you not say it's a reflection of the stylistic nature of trying to be more grounded? So there isn't that sort of necessarily a lot of interplay? Because at the end of the day, some of those characters didn't actually know each other. And I suppose it reflected well in terms of then when they cut to the generals, there was more of a, interaction and more character, as it were. But the people on the ship kind of wanted to keep that very scientific, grounded. That's what they were there to do a job. Just a theory.
Yeah, no, I think you're onto something there. And I think it was also just more of the time that a lot of science fiction films from this era, that's just kind of how the characters talk to each other. I mean, if you want to go to the most famous example from that era, even like 2001: A Space Odyssey, all the performances in there are pretty stiff. This is just kind of how it was during the era. Anton, you're still on mute.
There was a film released not too long before this in '63 that similar vibes, team going on an adventure, played it very straight. Jason and the Argonauts. That's also endured over the years, quite a classic. But I think, like you said, Pat, I think it's just the contemporary stylization at the time. You're going on an adventure, you got to cut it pretty dry.
Yeah. Now, Paul, you did make a good point. The two generals, they actually have pretty good banter. Now, you see more of that in the second half of the film, I think. And the actors sort of open up a little bit as they talk more to each other. So I think your theory makes sense. Like Stephen Boyd, who plays the lead, Charles Grant, I had to write down his name, otherwise there's no way I would have remembered his name. So he's a CIA agent, right? I don't know if they actually call him CIA, but that's basically what he is. He's a spy, right? He's some kind of espionage. He's the guy that got Benez. Is it Benz or Benez?
I thought it was Benish.
Benish, whatever. He smuggles him out of what we assume is the Eastern Bloc. They don't say it. Because this film, it's kind of a Cold War film, but they don't actually say who the other side is, right? We can make that assumption. Stephen Boyd, extremely handsome. He really does start off stiff as a board, though. And he does open up. He was a Northern Irish actor. I thought his attempt at an American accent was a little amusing at first. Perhaps I got used to it. I did come to like him over the course of the film. I think he's a good lead. Forgotten actor now. Died young. Died of a heart attack in his 40s. Pretty tragic.
Very young.
Yeah, you probably best know him. He played Masala and Ben-Hur. It's probably his highest profile role. But what do we think of him as a lead?
Very capable lead.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at what he was given, right? I mean, it's Spartan dialogue at the best of times. And the actual environment that to work in didn't really, there was sort of one fantastic scene after another in terms of going out into the body and doing things, but the dialogue was sparse, so there wasn't a lot for him to kind of work with. But I thought he did a fairly good job in what he was given.
I define the success of a leading actor in the 1960s by the size of the cleft in their chin, and goodness, that was quite the valley.
You could swipe a credit card through that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, he's good. He definitely nails the stoicism thing. I do like how he's a man of action. He's very pragmatic. Anytime they're confronted with a problem, he's just like, all right, I'll try to do something.
The only thing I would say is I don't think they necessarily explored the saboteur on board element. It sort of came in and out.
No.
Yeah.
Very sort of throughout the entire film, and didn't use a lot of time for him to sort of try and almost like an Inspector Clouseau or what what was the who's the Belgian Agatha Christie?
Hercule Poirot.
Yeah, who kind of talks to people and then slowly pieces the puzzle together, and right at the end he reveals who the murderer is. They talked about it, and that's the reason he was on board in the first place. But it didn't really kind of go anywhere.
No, and they don't give him a lot of help with the setup. They're like right before they leave, It's one of the generals, right? He tells him, like, by the way, that doctor, like, he might be a traitor. We don't know. Good luck.
That's not helpful.
In fact, they didn't really give him a lot to go on before he was shrunk,
No.
right? I mean, it was literally about 5 minutes of like, you're going on board, you're going to be shrunk, and try and find the saboteur.
Not even just the 5 minutes thing. It's like he has an hour. It's an hour-long mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't develop that particularly well. I mean, on I rewatched this a couple times. They of course give the audience hints with some of the dialogue, and I think they do that part well, where they slowly reveal Donald Pleasance as like the atheist communist guy, and then the doctor who we're initially supposed to suspect as the red herring, he's revealed as this very like conscientious, faith-based guy who's probably like a Christian. He never actually states what his specific beliefs are, though, but he's talking about like, of course something would have created all this. How can you possibly believe this came from nothing? It's like he's the God-fearing American. He's not some atheist commie like Donald Pleasance. But no, I do like that red herring character, Arthur Kennedy. He's a familiar face to me, a character actor. I don't want to skip past Raquel Welch, though, because she's usually one of the first images that people think of if they do remember this film. I was actually pleasantly surprised by how I thought tastefully they treated her character. She's not just a pretty face. She has like a real role, and they explain she's a valued member of the team. Could have been written a lot worse for 1966.
Well, again, it's one of those situations where you've got like an ensemble of 5 people, and you're trying to give them all airtime, push a story forward, also involve these amazing set pieces going through the body. The fact that she did get some airtime and was involved in it all, I think was great. And it sort of started to show some of her acting capability for sure. And it didn't really go down the sexist line either, particularly.
No, there's that one line from Stephen Boyd's character about, doesn't he ask her if she can cook?
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, a little weird. I think something to highlight is for a majority of the film, you get such a tight cast. Having said that, you have to follow them, of course, over the course of like, what is it, an hour and 30. And I feel like each actor held their own and allowed you to really follow along. So I think that there's very strong from such a small crew.
Yeah, I think the only one of the crew who really has nothing to do is the pilot. He just sits up there the whole time and just pilots the sub. Doesn't have a lot of dialogue. I think he has the least amount of dialogue, too, of anybody. But yeah, I do like Arthur Kennedy. And then the general, played by Edmund O'Brien, he was probably the most entertaining character. His banter with the other general, like you were pointing out, Paul, you can tell they've been working together a while.
Yeah. I have a theory, right? That, do you remember in the film Airplane, and you had the air traffic controller guy, and he's going like a hell of a time to give up glue sniffing?
Yes.
Do you remember him? Yes.
Yes, of course.
I'm sure because he had all that sugar, and it was like, I was meant to give up the sugar, but this is not a time to give up on sugar. And I thought, it must be the inspiration for Airplane.
Who is that? Is that Robert Stack in Airplane? Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines. Oh, no, that was Lloyd Bridges. Lloyd Bridges. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's where this line came from.
You could definitely see the influence for sure.
Yeah.
It was a lot of sugar. Jeez.
He was packing it into that coffee. I like how the coffee, like, it's such a like 60s thing. The coffee is on a hot plate on top of like computer banks. Like just in the control room, it's all centered around, there's an ashtray, of course, because the two generals are smoking cigars the entire time. One of my favorite things in the briefing, where, by the way, Anton, I like the old school, what are those even called? I don't even remember what they're called. The projectors where you put the thing.
The overhead projector.
Yeah, the overhead projector. That's it.
Yeah.
And immediately, as soon as the lights go off and they turn the projector on, the two generals just light cigars. It's such a 60s move.
That's a pretty great vibe. You gotta love that, because they don't do that anymore.
When you get
a briefing, you don't get that anymore.
You don't. No.
Especially in a medical facility as well.
Right. At least one person lights a cigarette. I'm amazed they weren't smoking in the submarine, but that would have been hard to explain. And then, of course, we were talking about Donald Pleasance at the top of the episode. Always delivers the most memorable performance in a film.
He a bit of a wild card. I love just visually, he always looked disgruntled in some way, unsettled in some way.
Sweating.
Yeah. If you told if the film went in the direction of like someone on the crew's been eaten, it's like he was the cannibal.
His death scene freaked me out as a kid. It's still kind of freaky now. It's a horrible way to die.
Yeah,
Yep.
pretty terrifying.
I don't know if it's a little unfair because he's in You Only Live Twice a Year after this, playing Blofeld. He had a lot of makeup on in that film.
Mhm.
So I'll discount that. But my goodness, he aged horribly between this film and Halloween when he played Dr. Loomis.
I don't know much about his personal life, but I can only imagine he just liked to drink and smoke.
I know enough about his personal life to tell you he'd like to drink a lot. And the funniest anecdote I heard about him is when he hosted Saturday Night Live. Just most of the cast said like he was just drunk the entire time. And then we know he was drunk in Halloween 4, Anton, for sure.
Oh yeah, he did not. He has a quality to him. The what is it? The drink sweats.
Yes, when he almost shoots the girl at the end. No.
He's just like, ooh, I got to lay off the whiskey.
Remember when the guy picks him up when he's hitchhiking and they just
That's
start
right.
drinking from the
Was it the holy man?
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Paul, check out Halloween 4.
Yeah, I
a
will
fun
do
one.
now. Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun. It's not good, but it's fun.
Uh,
Yeah, he's
but
good here.
The thing about Donald Pleasance is he's got a very unique face and mannerism and voice. As you said, I think, Anton, sort of borders between the really sinister and the sort of genuinely sort of pleasant sort of guy. But there's something dark about it, and you don't want to be in the same room as him on your own at all. He's just, but he does that so consistently. I just love him being in films.
You definitely don't want him leading your mission. And of course, they're not even injected into the body yet. You know, when they get miniaturized and they get put in a syringe and he just freaks out immediately. And it's like, oh boy, this guy's in charge.
So that guy's in charge of the rations.
I like the cast. To your point, Anton, it's a really tight cast. They all kind of get to showcase their thing, except for the pilot. Here's the line I couldn't think of earlier. You're pretty handy around the house. Can you cook? They get the sexism out of the way. They
That's
never
good.
really bring it up again, thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But I think a lesser film would have tried to do some kind of romance thing. This film doesn't do that.
It didn't.
Yeah.
There's no room for romance.
No.
The clock's ticking.
Well, let's talk about that clock then when we get to the plot. Yes, you could criticize the scientific stuff as ridiculous, but there's really no holes. I mean, I know Isaac Asimov would say otherwise, but other than the logic stuff that doesn't make sense, it's a linear plot. They lay it out clearly what the stakes are. It's well told.
Yeah, I remember reading that Asimov criticized certain aspects of the story, not about the scientific like logic, but more so just even some simple things like proper motivation or context that really you need written out in the novelization versus the film.
Which I've read it. He dedicates time to it for sure. You can
Yeah.
tell, like, just by the way he wrote it, he was annoyed and he was like, I'm just going to spend 3 paragraphs describing this one thing.
Yeah. And look, that's his thing, is just writing out true universes in novelizations and books. But I think one of the things that I overlooked as a kid watching this film is you just assume these two superpowers now have shrinking technology,
Right.
and you just accept it. You don't even
Yeah.
ask, why would you want shrinking technology?
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's fair. Because the more we can shrink, the more we can take out communism, I guess.
Right. We have to be able to do that to conquer space.
Well, I suppose talking of that, you are talking about the 60s, so the outer space elements, that race was on, wasn't it, during that part, the 60s, the Apollo missions and things, and this is now trying to conquer the inner space. So it was another type of arms race.
Yeah. Did you like that text at the beginning of the film which mentions, like, well, we haven't gotten to the moon yet? Did the version you watched have that text?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
I think every version does.
Apparently not.
Oh,
According to the commentary, not every version. Like, if it was a TV version, they cut that out. If you ever pick up the Blu-ray for this, it's a non-traditional commentary because it's not done by anyone who worked on the film. It's this film historian who worked for 20th Century Fox, but it's really interesting. He's got a ton of facts that he's spitting, including Best thing about the plot, which I didn't notice, but it does unfold in real time once they are injected. They spend exactly 1 hour of screen time in the body. I thought that was pretty cool.
Real sidebar. That must be such a fascinating job being a film historian for like a major studio.
It sounds like it.
Like, oh, like
Yeah.
I know where everything's stored. I know every single studio. This is where this prop is kept, and that's their job, is just maintaining the history of the studio. That's so cool. Except,
yeah, it's a really interesting commentary. I definitely recommend listening to it.
Except in the case where, like, if you work for Warner Brothers, you're a historian, and you still have to maintain history for films like Trolls. It's like, oh,
right.
It's not a very good film, but I guess I have to know about it.
Or if like you work for Miramax and the Weinsteins made you sign an NDA.
Oh no! I know where the bodies are kept.
How did she get this role?
Yeah.
They liked her for it. I wrote down, I always thought this was like a live action Disney movie. It's of course not. It's a Fox movie. But man, this could have been. Because Anton, you are familiar with Body Wars, right?
Of course.
Okay. Paul, probably not. That's okay. We won't hold it against you as a non-American citizen.
Thank
there
you,
was
sir.
there was a defunct ride at Disney's Epcot Center called Body Wars that was inspired by this movie, even though this isn't a Disney movie. But basically, it was like a Star Tours type of deal where you'd go in and there was a giant screen and you were inside the human body. And as a kid, when I went, I just assumed it was connected to this film, even though it's not officially. But it was pretty cool.
What was the objective? Was it or was it just a ride?
It was a ride, but Anton, wasn't there like some kind of plot to it where the characters were trying to do something similar with like a blood clot or something?
I forget exactly like the actual plot, but it plays almost exactly like the film.
Yeah, like I don't know how there wasn't a lawsuit. Like it.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is I know this wasn't going to be a Disney film because around the hour mark, I noted this, by the way, you do get Raquel Welch undressing. Now, not completely, of course, but they do focus on her on the screen being the only not astronaut. I forget the proper term.
I don't even know if there is a term for this.
Micronaut?
Micronaut could be. Pim particles. So another bit I picked up from the commentary, you would have no idea because they don't say it in the film. This is set in 1995. No idea why they picked that.
With 1960s technology, of course.
It's complete nonsense, but thought that was worth bringing up.
Did the commentary talk about like the first like 5 minutes where there's like no dialogue at all and sort of no exposition of what was going on? You basically had to figure it out later on. But in fact, it was no music, no dialogue.
Yes. I'm glad you asked. So that was they were deliberately going for a very hardcore John le Carre type of Cold War espionage type of opening. The non-music thing was a deliberate choice by the composer. He did not want to introduce any score to the film until they entered the body. He thought like the composer's name was Leonard Rosenman. Anton and I have clowned on him several times throughout the history of this podcast. I will give him his praises here. I was going to bring this up later, Anton. I really like the score to this film. I think it's really effective. But it's a great question you asked, Paul. Yeah, he made a choice. I am not putting any music in the film until they are injected into the body.
Yeah, interesting.
Cool. I mean, cool stylistic choice.
Because I mean, there's such a strange opening. You know,
it is. I wasn't sure if I like put in the right Blu-ray disc at first.
It doesn't fit the rest of the film. I'll say that.
No, it's. I suppose in a way that makes sense because it's not until he goes down that invisible shaft, all of a sudden his world turns upside down because now he's in this amazing laboratory, whereas he was like a real world spy getting this guy in from the other side. So the kind of doing that, it's just the fact that there was literally no dialogue. It was just he comes out of a plane, a car turns up, he shakes an old boy's hand. The old boy then has a car crash.
A hilarious car crash. Did we all laugh when the car hits the car and he just like slumps over?
I just thought it was just an unfortunate car accident when I was a kid. It was like,
it's not that clear that like it was the other side attacking them, and then there's like a gunfight, and
there's a lot of things you're just kind of inferring.
Right. This all could have been avoided with seatbelts. Like if he was just wearing a seatbelt, he probably doesn't hit his head on the door.
This was the non-seatbelt required era, wasn't it?
They had seatbelts in cars in the 60s, right? It was just like lap belts and no one wore them.
Yeah, I forget exactly. Maybe it was Smokey and the Bandit, because there was a film where it tied up with when seatbelt laws were stricter in the U.S. Not in
Back
this
then,
one.
if you wore a seatbelt, you were seen as a pussy.
Yeah. Like, you're not drinking and driving. Come on now.
Yeah, take that off.
Drink this.
Of course, I want cigarettes on my sandwich. What do you think I am, a Mary?
Sadly, I'm old enough to have had my first car had no headrests.
Oh my god!
No headrests. I just
Yeah.
feel.
You just get whiplash from slamming on the brakes.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
Nuts.
imagine that. That sounds so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
Hey, look, you got my first car. I was cool as anything, you know?
It's fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was a Ford Fiesta.
Okay.
It was just a little car, but, you know, I was able to take the ladies out with that one.
Was it the 80s?
Yeah, it would have been, yeah. Yeah, it cost me £1,500, which I suppose was quite a lot of money now.
Yeah, it's like probably
those-
$5,000 or $6,000, right? Yeah.
Those
Wow.
are the days when I had money.
When a Ford Fiesta went a long way.
Well, the great thing about it was all mechanical. So if there was a problem with it, you could just replace the part. Now you need a computer.
Right.
Was there a Ford? There must have been a Ford dealer then.
I'd have been in Ford dealers, but you didn't bother. You just go to a local motor store and just get the
Right.
part and just
Right.
replace it. You know, just get under the hood and get the spanners out and replace it.
That's a bit of my just to chat cars. That's my benefit with having a car that's 20 years old. I have two cars, one from 2002, one from 2000, and if I ever need any work done, it's pretty easy.
I'm getting worried that these cars are now like advertising the fact that they have Google inside it. And I'm thinking, like, what happens to phones after a few years? Oh, sorry, you're going to have to replace the phone if you want the latest software. And if your car runs well, you can't get the updates. You're stuffed. Anyway, I'll climb off that high horse.
No, I'm with you, Paul.
We are both with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho.
Anywho, back to the plot of Fantastic Voyage. Do we think it's too long? Do we think it drags? Because this is an era when films were just paced quite differently.
Since it's been a while since I'd seen it, I enjoyed the watching experience. But I will say, whenever they spend a little too long in the laboratory side of things, I was like, they're going back here now? Like, oh, I guess we're in this part of his body now, because then they always have on the larger screen in the hall, just the different parts, and you can track where the team is with the flashing light.
Well, I suppose you need that device, don't you? Because, like, much that know a little biology, when they kept referring to various different parts, I had no idea what they're referring to at times, especially when they were talking about the ear and building up to that dramatic point. You needed to know where it was and why it was kind of going to be important, or the bit with the heart, you know, you needed to know which way it was going. Although Donald Pleasance sort of said, oh, just go through this archery and I'll guide you from there. And then didn't actually guide him anywhere until he was at the very end and said, just turn left here. Didn't actually provide much navigation help for the poor old pilot.
Well, he was the saboteur.
Saboteur.
Maybe it was all deliberate.
Yeah, that is true.
I shot him 6 times. Oh, no, sorry. That's the wrong movie.
But you would have thought he would have made him turn right instead of left then. Gone, oops, we're now in the kidneys.
When he finally takes control of the sub, and everyone else is just looking at him like, oh shit.
And they laser it.
Yeah, they're like, he was the saboteur.
Whole time. I thought the only sequence that really dragged for me was when they're in the inner ear and they're clearing off the seaweed. It just there was like a lot of shots of them clearing off the seaweed, and I thought we could have tightened that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I mean, you know, it's not technically officially underwater action, but anything filmed where it's supposed to be underwater is usually slow. They're moving slow. I think if they were to remake this now, it would be faster paced, of course, just a different era of filmmaking. I was going to say this later. I'll just mention it now. I would love to see a remake of this in the right hands. I would love this. I would love this film to be brought back into like pop culture, because I think it's been a little bit forgotten.
Have you seen did they do a 1980s? Was it 80s or 90s version?
Well, you're thinking of Inner Space.
Is that the same thing? I never watched it.
It's technically not a remake of this. It has a similar concept of a miniature submarine going into someone's body, but it's a totally different plot, and it's more of a comedy.
Yeah.
Fun movie.
I wonder about just leaving this be in history just because technology, like this was so cutting edge at the time, because it was like pushing on all cylinders practical effects wise, and then trying to layer in whatever technology or inventing new technology to layer in the special effects. Whereas now, depending on the director you choose, it could just be very simply, we'll fix that in post, or we don't need why do we need to bother building like an elaborate set for this? We'll just put a green screen.
I agree with you in theory. The reason why I said in the right hands is James Cameron was wanting to remake this for a long time. I think he would do it justice.
And I'd be curious to see how does he translate some scenes with his eye. Like, for example, even Donald Pleasance's death scene with the white blood cell. Technology, it's very terrifying scene, I'm sure we'd all agree.
Yeah.
But the way the white blood cell gets taken out is the laser hits it and then it just kind of
evaporates.
It evaporates away. I'd be curious to see how does that look in the modern day with a more proper effect. It probably would look a bit cooler, but that scene was still very effective.
Definitely effective. Speaking of the laser, when they finally shoot the blood clot, it's like, what did they even need the surgeon for? He just like blasts it a few times.
Well, he did. To be fair, he did provide some commentary. He was like, "I'm going to just attack that little vein," but it just looked like he was just shooting willy dilly all over the shop.
We're just going to go blasting now.
It reminds me of like Starship Troopers when they're just like, "Kill them all," and they start shooting the bugs. I was trying to think
when you're running out. The thing is, when you're running out of time, it's like just shoot, man. Just clear the gap.
Just shoot anywhere. It doesn't matter.
They just start shooting.
I was trying to think of ways this would even be funnier, which they don't actually show if the mission was successful or not. How funny would it be if the scientist woke up and had amnesia, couldn't remember anything?
At one point, you just see the science, like they just start blasting, and then the next scene, they just see a nosebleed slowly come down.
He just flatlines.
That could be a great alternative ending.
Shouldn't have done that.
I actually like the pacing of this film, though. I found it almost like relaxing to watch in like a good way.
What I think it also about a remake is the beauty of this film is there'd been nothing quite like this to try and replicate what it must be like to be in the human body at that scale and to try and turn it into something you could believe in. And I think if you remade that, would you be as excited or in awe when those people in the 60s saw that for the first time? Because they've never seen anything quite like it.
I don't think so. This was crackerjack stuff in the 60s. It's a great segue, Paul. Last reason, this is probably the most fun reason to talk about, the production of this film. Technically a marvel for 1966.
Yeah, and so much respect for it today. I mean, even if people want to talk about, respecting your roots for Hollywood, this is so influential.
And that's why I want to give Richard Fleischer credit for directing this. He did some great stuff in his day. The Disney 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I think, is still a really cool movie. Tora, 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 we were very complimentary towards that, Anton, when we covered it previously on the podcast. And, he worked well into the 80s. I didn't realize he directed Conan the Destroyer, the second one.
Yeah, interesting one.
Yeah, not the good one, but
I said,
or you know what? Maybe I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe I'm misjudging it. I don't remember it being amazing.
Was that the one that had Wilt Chamberlain?
Oh, it sure is. Yeah, and Grace Jones.
Yeah.
He also directed. Have you seen the spinoff Red Sonja?
Of course.
Also not good. Have you ever seen that one, Paul?
I think I've seen Red Sonja. I've not seen any of the Conan films.
What?
Oh, you never got to see Tulsa,
man.
dude.
What are you
guys.
doing?
Sorry, whoa.
Oh, they're so much fun.
I'll get my coat.
Hear the lamentations of the women.
That is just a bizarre movie. A lot of fun, but a bizarre movie. Yeah, I mean, Fleischer, not an auteur, doesn't get a lot of love as a studio director. We always try to sing the praises of studio directors, Anton, too, because they have their place in the industry. Not all filmmakers can be Scorsese and Tarantino and Spielberg and Cameron, right? It's not how the industry works. The industry needs guys like Richard Fleischer, and he really did some great stuff. I mean, this is probably his best film, I would say. I mean, because all four major set pieces in this, which is we have the heart, the lungs, the inner ear, and then the brain, they all deliver. They're all incredibly well executed and memorable.
Yeah. Another film I just want to call out that I think for some people it is a bit of a classic was 67's Dr. Dolittle.
That movie stinks.
Yeah. Like I said, for some people, it's a classic.
Did he do that too?
Yes.
Oh man,
Is
maybe
that
maybe I
Rex
was
Harrison?
wrong. Yeah,
Yes, it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good God.
I haven't seen that in a few. I have fond memories of it, but I only watched it as a child. The Robert Downey Jr. one was diabolical and should never have been made, and should be burned.
That is on my list, Anton, of films I never will see.
The Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, no way, no chance.
Yeah,
You saw it?
I did not see it. I think the last Doctor Dolittle film I saw was Eddie Murphy's.
Which is, it has its charms, I guess. Wait, am I being harsh? Isn't the 67 Doctor Dolittle considered like a terrible movie? I remember it being silly.
It's a family favorite.
I was going to say, but I was going to say for some people it is a classic because even though it's not great, it was still Doctor Dolittle in the 60s.
Push me, pull you, animal.
Yeah.
Who can forget that?
I did. I forgot it. I'm sorry, Richard Fleischer. I don't want to speak too harshly of that film. We're going to cover it, Anton. It's on the list.
Cool.
But one film we do.
It sounds like great thing.
Yeah.
Good thing I brought it up.
Up in my mouth.
Save that one for your kids to review in a few years. But the one I do want to point out, I do recommend you guys watch The Boston Strangler, but also he did Soylent Green.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great sci-fi movie as well.
Love that.
Bombastic Charlton Heston.
Oh, yeah. That is best.
The freeze frame at the end. Soylent Green is people.
Which now we do have Soylent.
We do. They had to know what they were doing with that, right?
They had to.
Yeah.
Which is, I still remember, because of course it was very popular when it was released in San Francisco. And I remember in the office someone saying, "Oh, like, have you tried Soylent?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Like, which version?
Like, is this code? What are you trying to tell me?
It's very high in protein. Trust me.
Do you remember the Simpsons joke about it?
Oh, it was varies from person to person.
Yeah, but it said on the box it said now with more girls.
Yeah, I remember that. Sorry, give me 1 sec. I just gotta let my dog out.
Okay.
1 sec.
I'll keep going with Paul. So, Paul, the effects in this film, you could say they're dated, but I still think it's some of the most innovative effects I've ever seen in a film.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, to try and, as I say, create a believable environment that, as an audience, you can put aside your preconceived notions that you did believe that's what was happening, and the way they kind of described what was going on in your body and what all these things were. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was, today be considered pretty rough at the edges, especially like the green screen elements to it. Some of it where it was in the cockpit didn't sort of hold up so much. But I think
you could see the matte lines.
Yeah, I mean, but to portray all the elements of a human body, I think they did a great job, especially had to do it at a human scale as well. And I didn't really see the wires particularly. I maybe one shot very briefly, but they did a really good job of portraying them swimming through liquid.
They did. Anton, we were just remarking how, yes, some of the effects are dated here and there, but there's so much creativity on display. I think even 60 years later, this is some of the most innovative effects I've ever seen in a movie.
If you told me that the actors didn't put themselves in danger, I'd tell you they weren't putting together good enough effects in the 60s, because they were putting themselves in danger to get a lot of those shots.
Yeah, they coated the wires in acid to hide them on screen, which weakened the wires, of course, which kind of made the actors uncomfortable.
They had to change,
understandably.
They had to change them in between shoots because they were disintegrating too fast.
God, there must be a better way to have hidden the wires. What do you think? God,
I'm sure there was like asbestos involved at some point.
I also want to think that the studio just has vats of acid available.
They're in like spray bottles.
Like, where's our acid guy?
Bring in the acid. It's like the Joker squirt gun on a flower.
Or it's like maybe it was Too True, that episode of The Simpsons with they do the acid scene and they have to use real acid because it's cheaper than fake acid.
I mean, Paul, you were saying like the matte lines and whatnot. I mean, it's really early blue screen, and they wouldn't really figure that stuff out till I guess like the late 70s, like the Star Wars era. But I mean, this won the Oscar for effects. They were overseen by Art Cruikshanks, and it's just it's one of the best, most charming examples of a film that used practical effects. I mean, they were using everything that they possibly could to achieve this, right? Miniatures, forced perspective, matte paintings, so much ingenuity. They really did pull it off. Like this is still convincing all these years later to me. I don't think we're being nostalgic. I really do think it holds up.
Yeah, I mean, even any shot that you have where you're the interior of the ship looking outwards, just the constant movement, just keeping that consistent, that's impressive. Like, they had to solve for that.
And there's a lot of effect shots. I don't have an exact count for you, but it had to have been like a couple hundred, right? I mean, there's a ton of stuff when they're in the sub and just the windows, the lava lamp effect that we see outside, the blood cells, the arteries, the antibodies. I mean, they put a lot of thought into all this stuff.
Yeah,
And
just the go ahead.
I was going to say what I think works in the film's favor is you can tell they weren't going for hyper realism in keeping with the title of the film. They were trying to make it fantastical. And I think that's what works about it.
And I just love the creativity. I think even though the science, the anatomy, it's not exactly how it works as we know today of how anatomy or white blood cells work, but it was done stylistically to get the point across and to build tension and build something fantastical. And they really achieved it. And that's to me, that's impressive.
It has a really nice theme park ride quality to it. You feel like you're on a dark ride in the best way possible. They always make it clear where you are in the body so that you can just experience what's going on around you.
Probably why Disney thought, well, we could just make this a ride.
We'll rip that off. We're Disney. We can do that. Anton, I think it's funny. This is a CinemaScope movie, and we made such a big deal out of talking about that recently on the Robe episode.
That's true. Just the what was it? The true CinemaScope.
Is that how you saw it on your Blu-ray, Pat?
Yes, it's one of the first things that comes up. They're like a CinemaScope production because that would have been 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
Have you seen La La Land, Paul?
I've seen the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, in the first 10 minutes you get it where it says in CinemaScope.
Oh, that was probably the most exciting bit for me.
Wow. Shots fired.
Shots fired. Love it.
This was shot by a gentleman named Ernest Laszlo. He was the cinematographer on this film. Deserves a major shout. Didn't win the Oscar for this. Probably should have. He said this was by far the most challenging film of his career. He had to create an entire color palette from scratch. The Blu-ray commentary talks a lot about like the amount of lighting that he had to bring into the set just to pull everything off. All the different stuff. He basically was using every kind of stage lighting imaginable to shoot the different scenes. And you can tell because all the different set pieces are filmed in, different color filters, different lighting. You can tell like they just spent a ton of time and money on this. Anton, he shot Airport. Ernest Laszlo, our guy. Yep. Very accomplished cinematographer.
He worked on from 1960 to 1963. He worked on 3 straight Academy Award nominated films. Inherit the Wind, Judgment at Nuremberg, and It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Very accomplished guy.
Very accomplished.
Mind you, it might explain why all the actors were sweating so much. It must have been pretty hot on that set.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Now, films in those days obviously used a lot of like bigger rig stage lighting things, but I understand what he meant when he said creating a color palette from scratch, where it couldn't look like anything else that had ever been made. And I think it really does. It is completely unique looking for that era.
I think then the color palette choices for the rest of the set, or even just their, I don't know how to describe them, their micro space suits. Very intentional then for what color will reflect off of it or what light will reflect off of it.
Yeah, because they're white.
Yeah.
The production design, probably the best thing about this movie. You could say it's the special effects.
Pretty sick.
This won the Oscar for production design. The production designer is Jack Martin Smith. He is a 3-time Academy Award winner. All 3 of us covered Cleopatra. He won an Oscar for that. He designed all the sets on that. This was his second win, and then Hello, Dolly was his 3rd Oscar win a couple years after this. But here's some of the other stuff he did. Planet of the Apes, Tora, 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 Dr. Dolittle, An Affair to Remember, Valley of the Kings, Easter Parade, dozens of other films. He worked from the 30s all the way up to the 80s. His earliest credit is as a designer on The Wizard of Oz. So talk about an experienced production designer.
Well, part of it as well is just so well trusted. I want to say mainly worked with 20th Century.
Yeah, that was a lot more common then. If he was a studio guy, he was a Fox guy.
Right. He was a studio guy. So
He also worked on television. He worked on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. There's another Irwin Allen production for you, Paul. Lost in
Classic.
Space and the Batman
Yeah.
series. He worked on that.
Adam West.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I mean, this whole movie, the sets really are fascinating. I think the lung set is probably the most famous one. I remember like watching that as a kid in school. I thought that was really, really cool. The lung set.
I was a bit of a nerd, and when I did see once you're in the brain, the electrical synapses, I was like, oh, that's accurate.
It's so cool.
Imagine that going off in your head, all that light. Be amazing.
It's too much.
That was a combination of a shitload of different lighting that they were using on set, and you could tell it's a little animation that they're doing. I think the point we're trying to make is if you watch this with 2026 eyes, you can obviously say, well, this looks like a movie from the 60s. But if you put yourself in the shoes of someone from the 60s, this really was crackerjack stuff. I think it holds up just because of the sheer amount of creativity that they put into it. It's like what we've all been saying. The Proteus looks awesome. It's a really cool looking vehicle.
But it was believable as well. They did a lot in terms of making the ship work. Like every time they had to leave the ship, they had to go through, the chamber to go out. There was times when he had to pull sort of compartments out to look at all the wires and things. You had a real sense of a working ship, which they did a lot to sort of showcase, I think, which really played into that believability.
You can absolutely see the similarities between that and the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You can tell it was designed by the same guy. And this is where we can talk about Harper Goff. Anton, you had heard of him, right?
Big name in the Disney scene.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a Disney head, I know you would have known his name. So, Paul, I told you to look him up. Did you?
No.
Okay. Well, even better. I can tell you about him.
Great.
So,
I thought he was going to tell me off for not doing my homework.
No. This is even better. So during World War II, he was an advisor to the U.S. Army on camouflage. And after the war, he ended up in the movie industry. He eventually began working personally for Walt Disney. He helped plan some of the theme parks. So here's just like his CV. Not including the theme park stuff, but I'll get to that in a second. He was a set designer on Casablanca. And then when a lot of the stuff at Disneyland, he designed Main Street USA, the Haunted Mansion, the Jungle Cruise. He worked closely with Walt throughout the design and construction and phases of the park. Epcot Center, he designed the layout of the World Showcase. He designed concepts for Japan, Italy, and the United Kingdom pavilions. He also designed the Globe Fountain centerpiece for the 1964 New York World's Fair, which is still in Queens. It's still there. He, of course, did the Nautilus design in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And this is the coolest bit, maybe. He was the production designer on the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
And it shows.
Yeah. What a resume.
Yeah. Just a little influential.
Yeah.
I really highly recommend this. There's a great series on Disney Plus, Imagineers. And very heavily they cover his influence on the parks and everything that you just laid out there, Pat. So highly recommend it. It's a great documentary series.
I've seen it. It definitely second you on that. Recommend it. It's definitely worth checking out. Robbed of an Oscar for his work on 20,000 Leagues. He didn't have a union card. That's why they didn't give him the Oscar. So the art direction trophy went to his assistant. How much does that suck?
That's annoying.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this earlier, but the commentary, they were talking about the sets. So the Heart miniature set, it was 130 feet long. It was made out of sculpted styrofoam. That whole thing was basically just giant chunks of styrofoam that they pieced together after they sculpted it. The lung set was 100 feet long. It really does look massive. But when he's getting pulled away by the wind, it looks huge, like a cavern.
It looks huge, and it was huge.
It was huge, and they were still using matte paintings to extend it. I mean, it's really, really cool stuff.
So did they have like multiple sets that they built then? Multiple studios to build each individual set, did they say? Or did they basically film that and then strip it? And
this took up almost every single soundstage at Fox. Like a dozen sound stages or something like that they used.
I can imagine. You really got a sense of scale with it, especially, as you say, in that lung scene. They did go some fair distance.
Yeah, it's a perfect blend of effects and, practicality, I think. And, to get back to your earlier point, how would they do this now and blow audiences away like they did in the 60s? And to your point, Paul, I don't know. It'd be tough.
I suppose you could always go 3D.
You could, but I guess that's why, like, if I were to trust anybody with this, James Cameron makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think about it very similarly to how do you adapt. Like Cameron's influence on Battle Angel is how I kind of think of that. That use of practical effect and special effect to make something that really I hadn't seen before. I think you can do something very simple. I could really trust someone like Cameron, like you said, Pat, to be able to do that.
I mean, even the first Avatar, I didn't love it, but it really was. It blew everybody away when it came out. I mean, we hadn't seen anything like that before.
I mean, I would hope more practical effect, but then am I just? I feel like am I maybe approaching it from even too much of a narrow mind that practical effects is the only way to go, and that's where I'd see someone like a pioneer like Cameron saying, "There's another way. We can do this."
He knows how to use CGI. As much as I did not like the last two Avatar movies, like I can't fault the CGI. It's the most photorealistic CGI I've ever seen. No doubt about that.
But having seen Hail Mary, the fact that a lot of it was practical effects, I think helped keep it very grounded. And there's still something in the back of your mind that you can distinguish between those two elements. But once you mix the two up, it fools the mind a lot easier. I think with the Cameron, the Avatars, etc., and it's certainly like Marvel, I find them harder to get into.
Understandable.
I think if you went full CGI with Fantastic Voyage, I don't know whether that would work.
I mean, I know I prefer looking at a puppet Yoda than a CGI Yoda.
100%.
I don't want to see someone being mushed up by a white cell.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, properly.
Yeah.
So a lot of the blood cell effects on the commentary, the guy was saying how they basically filmed it in this giant water tank and they were injecting oil and like Vaseline into the tank and it was floating up and that's what they were filming.
That's so cool.
Yeah. They were using different dyes and stuff to get the different colors. Really cool.
It sounds awesome, but I'm also like, it's the 60s, so they're probably just dumping it.
Yeah, I'm sure
they're like, oh, that was such a cool scene. All right, now dump it into the river.
Right down the drain.
Did they talk about how they did the antibodies? Because they were I loved that effect.
Yes.
The way that it would attach to people or things.
Yes. So all the antibody stuff was sort of like stop motion, and then it was all filmed in reverse. So they had it all like wrapped up on whatever they wanted to have it attacking, and they were like, they would pull it off and then just reverse the film. It's why it has like this like weird, it's like uncanny, like when they're attacking Raquel Welch. It's like they had Raquel Welch wrapped up in it, and then they were like pulling the stuff off of her and just reverse the film.
Certainly worked.
It is freaky. Like even now, 60
freaky.
years later, it's pretty freaky.
It's one of the, especially to see Donald Pleasance get taken out like that, pretty freaky.
Yeah. It's like Scream too. He really sells it. You know, it's not as good as his Oscar-winning performance in Halloween 4. No. But you know, it's pretty good. Anton, are you with me on the score? I like it.
Oh yeah, it fits. It just fits. It's right.
Rosenman had the right idea. I mentioned how it was his idea not to have the score enter until they go into the body. They also asked him originally to compose a jazz score, and he was like, absolutely not. That's the wrong approach. And he gave us this. It's a really eerie, like alien kind of score. It really works for the film.
Well, I was about to say there was elements. If I think when they went around the ear a bit, that you would have thought that's from the Aliens film score. There was definitely key signatures from that. I could remember hearing in the Alien film some 10 years later.
Yeah, 79. Yeah. The Jerry Goldsmith score?
Yeah.
Great score.
It was fantastic.
So there's been a couple attempts to remake this like we were talking about. It's never happened. In 1984, Isaac Asimov was approached to write Fantastic Voyage 2, Destination Brain. They were going to make a film out of it. He provided an outline. They disliked it. Then he wrote the book in his own way. It was published in 1987. They obviously never made this into a film. It's not really a sequel. I've read it. It takes place in the Soviet Union. It's like an entirely different set of characters. It's not a sequel in any way. And then Fantastic Voyage Microcosm is a third interpretation written by Kevin J. Anderson, published in 2001. I have not read that one.
I mean, just in general, do you guys feel compelled for a continuation of this universe and a story?
In a book or a remake?
Just in general, like
Yeah, I think
like an
so.
expanded universe. This is the 90s too, by the way.
Right. I really wish they would remake this film if they do it justice. Now, Roland Emmerich was going to remake this at one point. Hell no.
That wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, no thank you. As of last year, James Cameron said he is still committed to producing a remake of this. So we shall see. Guillermo del Toro was attached to some rumor at one point. Paul Greengrass
Did just talk Battle Angel. It's interesting.
We'll see.
Cameron, isn't Cameron like signed up for the next sort of 3 or 4 years on his avatars?
He's kind of backed off that.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he originally said he was going to do 5, and then after the last one came out, he hinted that he might only produce the next couple ones.
Ah.
So I can see maybe he's created this pathway for himself to do other projects. And we've been asking for this for a long time. Anton and I have talked about this a lot on this podcast. It's like, Cameron, please do other things.
Yeah, and I think this is right up his alley, especially with deep exploration. I mean, he loves sea exploration. I'm sure he could apply that creativity to this.
That's what they say in this film. It's basically like seawater. Doesn't
And they
someone
got
say
him
that?
going. That really
Yeah.
got him going. He's like,
what?
the sea? Did you say the sea?
Donald Pleasance is like, yes, it's 100,000 miles long. Weird ass Donald Pleasance voice.
Someone else is like, keep an eye on that guy.
I was waiting for like Stephen Boyd to ask one of the generals that, like, well, we suspect it's this American doctor, and he's like, what about the creepy guy in charge? You think it might be him?
And also, does he suffer from claustrophobia? Because that would be really difficult to deal with in a submarine.
Yeah, it is funny how he freaks out immediately, and they're all kind of like,
Yeah, it's true.
he's in
I'm surprised
charge.
it just didn't slap him around and, shape up, man.
I was waiting for that, for someone to hit him and then offer him a cigarette to calm him down.
For your nerves.
Or your
Or
nerves.
don't they come out with like a little flask and go, have a nip of this, mate. Calm your nerve.
Did anyone smoke a pipe in this film? That would have like completed it.
I didn't see a pipe.
No.
That would have
It's a
been like
pipe-free zone.
That would have been the trifecta of smoking. You have cigarettes, you have cigars. It's like, what about a pipe?
I was about to say, so just as a question for you two, actually, imagine yourself as a nurse and you've just been told, remain silent, stand still, do not make a sound, and you saw someone sweating. Would your first reaction be go and grab a little towel to dab his brow?
Probably not.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Did it really
think
make
she
sense
was-
to have like 35 people in that room too?
On all those radars.
Yeah, the little
Yeah, the
miniature
little
Yeah.
like how they're
That was
all like
really
just
fun. Well, can't forget they had to wheel them in and out on the little tables.
Yeah, it's a good question, Paul. What about the thing, when they're about to inject him, and after they miniaturize the ship, they have the whole elaborate like push cart thing that the two guys wheel in, and there's the little forklift. So great.
Pretty great.
What I thought was really funny though, they had a little ramp. They didn't have everything on the same level. You would have thought it would be quite a key thing not to have any sort of variation of height, but no.
Nope.
But
No.
yeah.
They're like, no, we like a challenge.
Now, sorry, I've got these questions. I need to have these out. So when he explained about the ship being powered, he said they only need a couple of atoms of uranium because they're going to be shrinking so much. But did they really shrink that much?
The atoms, you mean?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah.
can't
'cause,
shrink
like,
an atom, or can you?
Yeah.
I-
Well, the pretext was, I can't remember now. Did he say they couldn't shrink uranium, so therefore it would stay the same size, but they would shrink around it, so therefore it would be bigger, and therefore they get more power.
I think that's what they meant.
Oh,
when they shrink
energy.
everything else, the little tiny handful of uranium atoms could power the whole thing like a nuclear powered
Yeah.
submarine.
It's
So
like
it's just selective atoms. They just so happened that.
I think so. Who are you, Isaac Asimov?
Well,
mean, that
he
makes-
did write me a letter, sort of saying, make sure you bring this up.
it
from
does
the
make
grave.
sense though. If
I
you
think that's what they said.
yeah, if you make the actual fuel tank smaller, the efficiency is better at something that stayed the same rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because church and state,
It's just because, right?
right? Because
Yeah.
when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, we need Miles
It's-
O'Brien here to explain things to us.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Chief O'Brien. You had another question, Paul? You said you had two?
Oh God, what was the other one? Oh yes. So the ship. So I think Asimov had a big problem with the ship because they left the ship behind.
Yep.
Yep, that was one of the big things.
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is the white cell dissolved the ship, therefore removing the ability for it to expand back to its original shape.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. But I guess those atoms still exist within the white cell, so by dint it should expand, right?
He now has uranium in his brain.
Yeah, maybe the white cell's going, God, I seem to be getting bigger. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
I think that's one of those things where if we think about it too hard, then we'll go cross-eyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I read that he was unhappy with it, but I just accepted the fact that it got dissolved, and that's how...
how I read it.
Yeah.
The only thing that like bothered me the most is like you don't even know if their mission was a success. Like, did they run out of money?
It was pretty abrupt, wasn't it?
It just
ends. They're out. They're bigger,
and then roll credits. There is nothing else.
Maybe in the corner you could just see this like flat line on a screen, and a little bit of blood coming out of his nose.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for the notes. Paul, you want to rate this first as the guest?
Yeah. Let me. I think this is an absolute solid film, and especially for this particular genre and the time. And it was that combination of mixing geopolitics with a kind of race against the time, and provided a really believable, fantastic environment. And the fact that it was so grounded from the beginning allowed you to suspend disbelief, because they immediately talked about miniaturization and going into the body, and you just kind of accepted it. And that's what I love about those kind of science fiction films. There's an element of believability, but you know it's not technically probably possible, but it's somewhere in between. And, you know, we talked about the style of the film. I love that slow beat, deadpan type of movies. It's, you know, his influence, I think you see as, I think we talked about earlier, you know, 2001, Marooned, Andromeda Strain, all of these sort of films, ones I really, really like. There are certain elements in terms of the story. I felt that the saboteur element was not fully realized. And actually, I thought that was a missing beat. They could have built up to a really good ending. I wasn't even at the end of it still sure that Donald Pleasance was either the baddie or just had a total freak out and just wanted to get out. So I wasn't really kind of sure quite what to believe. I thought all the actors had an equal amount of time to shine. And one bit I did love was some of the dialogue that the Doctor kind of came up with, and there was my favourite, which was he said, "Maybe the philosophers were right. Man is at the centre of the universe. We stand in the middle of infinity between the outer and the inner space, and there is no limit to either." So, with those prophetic words, I give it a solid C.
Wow, that's harsher than I thought.
Well, it was one of those films where I really liked it, but I don't think it was enough to get overly excited about. But equally, I don't think it failed either.
Fair.
I'm a harsh man.
No,
it takes a lot.
Okay.
Takes a lot.
All right. I never thought of you that way. So don't feel bad. Anton, who wants to go first, me or you?
I think I went first last time, if you want to go.
Yes, I can do that. Beneath the dazzling premise and the inventive set pieces, you do start to notice some of the familiar problems. Wooden characters, stiff performances, except for Donald Pleasance, and a story that sometimes at points just becomes like a guided tour of the human body rather than a particularly gripping adventure. That sounded harsh. Nevertheless, I think this is a great science fiction classic. The premise is ridiculous, but it's really cool. That's sci-fi for you. You could say that about a lot of different sci-fi movies. Yes, some of the performances are wooden and the pacing is a bit sluggish in parts, but everything is so well crafted and well executed that I can't help but like this film quite a bit. I think it looks fantastic. I'll just make that pun now. This is a fantastic looking film. It really is. I think for the most part, it really holds up 60 years later. It's just so innovative and imaginative. Really memorable set pieces and special effects. Absolutely check this film out if you haven't seen it. Chances are, if you haven't seen it, you're probably familiar with the concept. And if you like old school hard sci-fi, which is what this is, give it a whirl. I hope they remake this. I'm leaning B plus. I think there's nothing in it that's like A territory, but I'll go B. I think it's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed rewatching it a couple times in the past week to prepare for this. And I hope they remake it because it'll bring attention to this film because I think it deserves it.
To keep it simple, I just have a lot of respect for this film as a classic. It really does a lot of the heavy lifting to make what you see on screen seem just very what I'm trying to convey is you can really take for granted all of the hard work that it took to put on screen what this team did. And I know for a fact how influential this film was, not only again to film, but pop culture and culture in general, to sci-fi. And we just lost Paul. I really enjoyed this film. I do think it's a classic. I also agree there's not much in A territory for this one for me, but it's just so influential. I have a lot of time for this film, and I give it the B plus.
Nice. Maybe I should change mine to B plus because I really do think this is a sci-fi classic.
My reasoning is not only does it still have a rewatchability to it, but it's cutting edge in spectacle, and not every film in this era in this category can say the same.
Right. You just texted me, I see to have lost you.
Oh no.
Don't really know what to do. Should we end the recording?
I guess.
Okay. Well, that didn't necessarily end the way we wanted it to, but we're going to end it here now. Thanks to our guest, Paul, for joining us. And he had to leave prematurely, but we won't hold it against him. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on Why Wasn't It Better?